Hey, welcome to Retirement Made Easy. Imagine you're a 62-year-old couple. You've got $2.8 million saved for retirement, mostly in your 401k. Imagine 30% of your money's in company stock. Now, you've got a pension that doesn't start until you're 65 years old. How much can you spend in retirement and still feel confident that you're gonna have as much money that you need to live on for as long as you live in retirement? Does it even matter when you claim your Social Security benefits? Does it even matter if you do Roth conversions or not? What about a withdrawal strategy? Should you just go with a 4% rule and just take a 4% withdrawal every year and call it a day? Or does a specific withdrawal strategy really increase your odds of success or not? That's what we're going to talk about on today's video. We're going to go through a case study, a couple we're going to call Fred and Wilma from the great state of Iowa. We're going to go through their plan and show you along the way how much these decisions can really move the needle and increase the odds of success in retirement. So let's get started. Okay, so this is our nice couple. We're going to call Fred and Wilma. They live in the great state of Iowa. The neat thing about Iowa is that anybody 55 and older that takes a withdrawal from their IRA, they actually don't have to pay state income taxes on those withdrawals. So for a lot of retirees, it's a very tax advantageous state to live in. So we can see Fred is 62, just turned 62 in January. He was born in 1963. His Social Security benefit is $3,400 at his full retirement age, and we call that his PIA, which is his primary insurance amount. Wilma had just retired last year. She turned 62 in January as well. And she actually started her benefit right away for $1,600 per month. Now, that was one thing that kind of made her nervous. Should she have started her benefit right away at 62 or held off? And anybody that's listened to the Retirement Made Easy podcast for any length of time knows that somebody that's 62 that starts their Social Security benefit actually has 12 months to go back and stop the benefit and pay back any of the benefits they've received. So that was one question that Wilma had on her mind was, should she stop her benefit, pay them back, and get those delayed credits? Now, we have a life expectancy for Fred of 92. For Wilma, we're assuming age 95. Social Security tells us that 80% of women die single, so we are assuming a greater life expectancy for Wilma. Plus, she's got a lot of longevity in her family. So let's next go to the different retirement accounts that they have. They have $2.8 million saved for retirement, and $2 million of that is actually in Fred's 401k. Now, within the 401k, you can see $840,000 is invested in company stock. His company stock has done very, very well. And then outside of company stock holdings in the 401k, he just has regular mutual funds, and they are worth $1,160,000. So combined, he's got about $2 million in his 401k. And then the rest, $200,000 is in a trust that Wilma inherited. It's worth $200,000. And then when Wilma retired, she rolled her old 401k into a rollover IRA, and it's valued at about $600,000. So total, they have $2.8 million saved for retirement. Now, one of the big keys here is 30% of their $2.8 million is invested in that company stock. And that really, really made Wilma very, very nervous. We always ask people, what are their concerns as they look ahead at retirement, or even just as they think about retirement in general and where they're at? And one of her big concerns is, hey, we've got $840,000 invested in Fred's company stock. That's 30% of our money. And we've been very, very blessed, but a lot of people don't have $840,000 to begin with, And we've got that in one stock, and that makes our plan kind of top heavy. So that was a big concern of Wilma's. It wasn't so much Fred. That wasn't one of his, because again, the company stock had done so well over the years, but that really stuck out to Wilma. The other thing is, Wilma said they don't have life insurance. That was a concern, and she wanted to make sure that they were never going to be a burden on their kids at any point in the future. They did get their house paid off, so that was a big advantage that they had going into retirement. Fred's big concerns were that Wilma's pension did not kick in until 65. Another concern he had is Social Security, and when was the appropriate time to claim his Social Security, and then if it really made sense to do Roth conversions or not. A lot of people that he knew were doing Roth conversions and had recommended doing Roth conversions, especially when you hit retirement and start doing massive Roth conversions. So we wanted to definitely demonstrate that to see if that would be in their best interest. Let's go to cash flows next and show you what they want to spend in retirement. And so we know what their Social Security is. We know what their retirement savings are. They've got $2.8 million saved for retirement. We're going to go through how much they want to spend in retirement, and then also we're going to look at Wilma's pension, which doesn't start until she's 65. So these are their spending goals. So certainly retiring at 62, they've got health insurance expenses that are going to be sizable, and they know that. So we're going to call that pre-65 healthcare, and that's from now until they turn 65, and then they'll be eligible for Medicare. But until then, they will have $1,800 per month up until they're 65, and that would cover all the expenses for healthcare, not only deductible but also premiums and things like that. So that's what they're going to allocate or earmark for healthcare expenses. Next, essential monthly living expenses with sinking funds. So they've been listeners of Retirement Made Easy, so they've heard us talk about sinking funds when it comes to saving and setting aside money for not only maybe a Christmas fund, but also a home maintenance fund and also a new vehicle purchase fund. So we call that a car fund. So inside that budget, they've got amounts that are allocated to set aside every year for not only saving up for Christmas, but also home maintenance expenses, and then also setting aside money for a new vehicle purchase. And that was just a part of their everyday budget. And they were planning to have a budget of $9,500 every single month. And we're including, of course, inflation. We've got an inflation adjustment, knowing that, hey, every year, everything you buy will continue to cost more. On top of that, once they retire, they were planning on 15 years of travel, vacation expenses, and they wanted to have $1,500 a month that was earmarked for vacations and traveling. Now, that was going to be for the first 15 years of their retirement, and that would put them at 77. They said that's their goal, is in those early years of retirement, when they were the youngest, they were feeling the best. They said they wanted to get all those bucket list items out of the way and really enjoyed them when they were in the best health. So on top of that, 65 plus healthcare. So once they turn 65, again, they'd be eligible for Medicare, and they wanted to plan for healthcare expenses throughout the rest of their lives. And so we have allocated $950 per month. Now, the one thing about Medicare is, and you can look back at Medicare Part B history and Medicare premiums for supplement plans, for example, over the years, those expenses, they tend to go up higher than inflation, than regular inflation every single year. So we're actually assuming a 5% annual inflation for healthcare expenses in retirement. So, and then the last expense that we're planning on is a one-time expense. Now, Fred had joked he hopes it's a one-time expense. They have a daughter. They're planning at some point she's going to get married, and they don't know when that's going to be, but they said hopefully that's by 2030, and they have $40,000 that they want to earmark for her wedding expense. So Fred's a funny guy. He said hopefully it's one wedding, but that's what they have in their plan as far as the spending that would make them happy in retirement. So next we'll go to pensions, and Wilma has a pension that actually doesn't start until she's 65. There's no lump sum option available either. So she's got to take the monthly pension option. Now, after talking about it a lot, as a team, we decided that Wilma would take the joint and 50% survivor option. So when Wilma collected it at her 65th birthday, the month she turned 65, it would start off as $800 a month. If Wilma did predecease Fred, then Fred would start receiving 50% of the $800 or $400. So given the fact that Wilma's health is better than Fred's, they both admitted, and her life expectancy is greater, they decided to go with this benefit, the 50% survivor benefit, knowing that statistically and the probability, lean towards the chances of Wilma outliving Fred. They were, and Fred was very, very adamant about that there's no way that he was going to outlive his wife. So that's what they have as far as sources, income sources, expenses in retirement, and resources as far as assets. So let's get into the withdrawal strategy and how the decumulation phase looks, and what the different options as far as withdrawal strategies and how they compare. So we ran 3 different scenarios that we wanted to highlight here to really highlight the importance of when they claim their Social Security, and also what they did with the company stock, and what withdrawal strategy that they decided to go with. So those 3 variables: when they claim their Social Security, what they did with Fred's company stock, which was 30% of everything that they had saved for retirement, and what they chose to do as far as a withdrawal strategy, because there's a lot of ways that you can go as far as which accounts to start spending first. So we'll go with the worst. We'll start off with the worst. So one of Fred's colleagues said that it was a good idea to top out and start doing Roth conversions as soon as you entered retirement, and start doing massive Roth conversions. And we were able to kind of highlight what that would look like. Now, what's really, really interesting, and I'll explain the strategy here, it actually is a 3-phase strategy, but at a high level, you can see their cumulative lifetime taxes are actually the lowest by doing withdrawal strategy number 3, but you can see the ending balance at Wilma's age 95 is actually the lowest by going with this strategy. So oftentimes you might end up paying the least amount of taxes, but the ending balance is the lowest, and that gives you the highest probability of running out of money. For example, if Wilma lived past 95, or if they had long-term care expenses that we weren't accounting for. So the way this strategy looks is essentially they retire in 2025, and until between 2025 and 2033, that is phase 1. And so what this means is their spending will be conventional wisdom. So that means spending their brokerage after tax account first. When that's depleted, they move on to their pre-tax dollars, like the 401k and IRA. And when that's totally depleted, then they move on to Roth. And you'll notice, you probably remember, they actually don't have Roth IRAs or any money in a Roth 401k. So this includes massive Roth conversions in those first 8 years of retirement, going up to the 35% tax bracket. You can see the max Roth conversion in a single year would be $636,000. So it's really being very aggressive with Roth conversions in those first few years of retirement. And you can see throughout retirement, their total Roth conversions is $1.9 million by doing this. So it's getting very aggressive. Now, then in 2033, which is the phase number 2, it would be conventional wisdom. It would just take a step back and go with conventional wisdom, which says we're going to spend our after-tax or brokerage account first. Once that's depleted, we would move on to our pre-tax dollars. And then once that's totally depleted, we would move to our Roth accounts. And then the third phase would be in 2038, they would move to opposite of conventional wisdom. So that includes spending the Roth money first, then moving to pre-tax, and then moving to brokerage account or after-tax dollars. Now, with this strategy, it also has, as you remember, Wilma claimed her Social Security benefit at 62. It says Fred should claim his benefit at 62 as well. And this strategy had the lowest likelihood of success. Again, $461,000 was the prediction, the estimate that they would have left at Wilma's life expectancy. So that didn't make them, it didn't give them a warm and fuzzy feeling, put it that way. So then if we move on to the second 2 withdrawal strategies that we have, conventional wisdom, which again, I'll explain. It is simply spending your after-tax brokerage account money first, then moving on to the pre-tax dollars, which is the pre-tax 401k and traditional IRA. And then once that's totally depleted, you move on to Roth accounts, Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks. In their case, they don't have those. You can see the cumulative taxes is a little bit more than the first strategy we went over. The ending balance is a lot more money. There's projected to be $2.3 million left after Wilma passes away at 95. So yeah, they pay a little bit more in cumulative taxes, but the ending balance is almost $2 million more. So you'll also see that this says that Fred and Wilma claim their Social Security benefits at 62. And so this is strategy number 2 that we considered. And then the strategy number 1 for Fred and Wilma is that Wilma keeps her benefit. She collected right away at 62, and we're assuming that Fred holds off until 67, his full retirement age, to collect his Social Security benefit. Now, it is the proportional strategy, and all this means is it looks at of your total retirement savings, your retirement portfolio that you have. It looks at the percentage of after-tax dollars that you have in a brokerage account, and let's say that's 40%. That means when you start taking withdrawals in retirement, 40% should come from the after-tax bucket. And if 60% is from pre-tax dollars, that means 60% should come from pre-tax 401k or IRA money. Now, you remember they don't have any Roth dollars, but so obviously zero withdrawal would come from their Roth bucket. But hypothetically, if you had 10% of your entire portfolio was invested in Roth dollars, that means 10% every month you would spend out of your Roth accounts. That's the proportional withdrawal strategy. And you can see the ending balance is $2.8 million at Wilma's life expectancy. You can see cumulative taxes are in between the two. They're $1,009,244. But we didn't stop there. And we said we can decrease the cumulative taxes. And we looked at the company stock that Fred had in his 401k. And there's a secret rule that's called net unrealized appreciation. And it's called NUA. And this is a strategy that if you have a concentration in company stock, in a 401k, in a ESOP plan, that it will apply to you. It likely will apply to you, and it's a way you can save yourself potentially a lot of tax dollars and have a lot better outcome if you basically incorporate this NUA strategy and separate that company stock from the rest of the holdings in the 401k. And that's this next one. So we incorporated an NUA strategy with that company's stock, and you can see the cumulative taxes went way, way down by doing so. It went from over $1,009,000 in cumulative lifetime taxes to $766,000 of cumulative taxes. And it was simply by incorporating this NUA strategy. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and you've got to do it absolutely right. You have to cross your T's, dot your I's, and make sure it's a well thought out and maneuvered plan with the NUA. But when it's carefully done, boy, it can work wonders. You can see the ending balance is $3.9 million. So what a difference a little bit of a strategy can make. Not only did we push off Fred's Social Security until he was 67, but also we incorporated this NUA strategy, and it's still the proportional strategy ends up being the best. We have almost the lowest cumulative taxes of all three strategies at $766,000, but the ending balance at Wilma's life expectancy is almost $4 million. So what did we learn from today's video? Well, there's 4 lessons that I wanted to highlight. Number 1 is Social Security timing does make sense. It does make a difference over the long haul, especially when you got a couple that's projected to live until 92 and 95. So just comparing Wilma and Fred claiming their benefits at 62 versus choosing to delay the higher of the two benefits, which was Fred, until he's 67, it gives him more lifetime income and provides a higher survivor benefit for Wilma should Fred predecease Wilma down the road. Number 2 is Roth conversions. Yeah, for a lot of people, Roth conversions make a lot of sense. Who doesn't like tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs? But I see it so many times. People go overboard with Roth conversions and they get too aggressive, and it ends up having an adverse effect. It actually puts them in a worse situation down the road than if they had just done nothing at all. So you want to be really, really careful with Roth conversions and not go overboard. Number 3 is withdrawal strategies matter. When you're in the decumulation phase of your life, you're coming down the mountain, you're spending your retirement accounts, the withdrawal strategy that you decide on can have a big difference, not only in how much taxes you're going to pay, but how long that money will last. Now, lesson number 4 is obviously company stock and what you do with company stock, whether it's in an ESOP plan, 401k, what have you. There are strategies with company stock. I highlighted one today called NUA, Net Unrealized Appreciation. And just this one strategy for Fred and Wilma is projected to save them almost $250,000 in lifetime taxes. And not only that, their daughter is projected to end up with an additional $1 million of a legacy for their daughter. So what you do with company stock and your strategy, as far as company stock, if you're one of those people that does own and invest in a lot of company stock, that strategy can make a big, big difference. I hope this episode of the Retirement Made Easy podcast has been helpful. I'll see you next time. And remember, always dream big. Hello, I'm Greg Gonzalez, founder of RetireStrong Financial Advisors. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. And if you want to learn more about how we help people plan for a successful retirement, visit our website, RetireStrongFA.com.